What's going on, everybody? Tim from Tierfon Orbital. Another Subversion build coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Tim from Tierfon Orbital. The Subversion. Sorry. What's going on, everybody? Tim from Tierfon Orbital. The Subversion by Ignition Saber Company. Another detailed body modification install that I had the pleasure of doing once again on this awesome hilt. So, as with all of my videos, this is going to serve as a walkthrough for both the client and people who are interested in my process on weathering this particular hilt. We will go over how to use it, put a blade in it, do a little bit of a demo, and then we will be on our way. Luckily for me, we don't have to go over the chassis because the chassis was already provided by Ignition. I did not do a custom one for this. So, nice and easy, right? We're going to talk about the outside of the hilt really quick. So this is it. This is the Subversion by Ignition Saber Company. What an awesome, unique hilt. So, I mean, talk about machining. I'd like to see the aluminum stock that Ignition Saber Company starts with before they make one of these, because there are, well, first of all, there's a bunch of modular pieces, obviously, but there's just so much routing and detail that goes into the outside of this hilt, which also makes it ripe for weathering with aluminum black. So what happens when you weather something with aluminum black, all of those ridges and valleys, they really start to come out, and you can get some contrast when you aluminum black the outside of the hilt. So this hilt is so rad. This is the second build and weathering that I've done with one of these, and I was pretty sure I needed one during the last build, but after doing this, I know that I need one for my own personal collection. And the owner of Ignition Sabers reached out to me today, actually, and let me know that he's only got, I think he only has 7 left at this point. So going to finish up these videos and go over there and purchase one immediately, because this is just one of those unique hilts that, I'm just really into unique stuff lately, and this is definitely the definition of that. So let's start at the bottom and make our way up. At the bottom, we do have a modular pommel. This pommel does unscrew. We have a 28mm bass speaker from the Saber Merchant in this one. We'll go over the outside of it first. So there are 2 shroud pieces to this hilt. There's a lower shroud piece and an upper shroud piece. The lower one covers the board and the battery. To get at that, you want to unscrew around the back here. There are 2 hex screws. All of these screws are steel, and I heat stained these during the weathering process. Making our way up, we have our exposed crystal chamber. Now, with this crystal chamber and the one previous, I gave it a faux bronze patina. And the way I do that is there's a product called SURFIN. It is a aluminum bronzing agent, and what you have to do is you prepare whichever piece of aluminum that you want to bronze. And this is my process for it, right? So what I did for this build is I taped off what I did not want bronzed, okay? I treated the aluminum with some Easy Off oven cleaner, right? So that almost etches the aluminum in a way that it makes it more porous, and it accepts the chemical and aluminum black, for that matter, in a better way than I found. So I tape off what I don't want to bronze, okay? Treated it with Easy Off, washed it, and then I prepared my SURFIN chemical solution. It's 2 parts liquid. You measure out 2 parts of equal measurements. Why can't I talk today? So it's a chemical process, right? So you have to measure out 1-to-1 ratio of each of the liquid that they send. They ship it in 2 separate bottles, so you've got to mix it yourself. I guess they probably can't ship it mixed already, or it would expire. So once it's mixed together, then I brush it on with a large paintbrush, and I let it sit for a couple of minutes and let it soak into the aluminum. And then I wash it off. Because it's already taped and masked off, I then go over that with a couple of coats of clear epoxy spray. And that just gives it a nice faux bronzed look. Okay, the brass pieces, so we have some brass posts on each side of the crystal chamber. Okay, and I guess it would help if I had some light on this thing. We have two brass posts on each side, and the crystal chamber itself is brass. So what I like to do with real brass, and what I've been doing a lot of lately, I do a real world patina on brass. So I'll prepare the brass pieces by just scouring them a little bit, because a lot of times when brass comes from the factory, it's sprayed with either some sort of oil or sealant to protect it. So I prepare the brass ahead of time, then I put it in a container of vinegar. So I've got like a Tupperware container, there's vinegar at the bottom of it, and then I suspend those brass pieces over the vinegar. So I don't want to dunk them in the vinegar, right? I just kind of want them to be in that container where the vinegar fumes are touching the brass, and I let it sit for like a couple of days actually. So these all sat for like a day or two, and they start to get that really, really nice green crusty patina that you only see on brass that's been out in the real world for a long time. Think about the Statue of Liberty. That's why the Statue of Liberty is green, because it's copper, so it gives it that same effect. Inside of the crystal chamber, I have two quartz points. The bottom is a blood red quartz point. The top is a regular clear quartz point, and they each have their own Neopixel suspended above them. And now with this build, as with the previous build, I put two nano pico LEDs inside of that crystal chamber, okay? And they are both wired up to the out on the Neopixel. So every time the crystals light, those little baby Neopixel pico SMD LEDs light, okay? Aux and a main, and making our way up, we've got, the customer did ask that I add a brass thumb screw to the top of this. This does make it a little bit easier to get your blade in and out. You don't have to carry around an Allen key with you or any of that stuff, right? So let's talk about how to use it. So to get at your battery and your board if need be, you want to unscrew your pommel, okay? Pommel comes off. You take your Allen key and unscrew these two set screws. And then that shroud will come right off. Okay, so here's your board. Board is press fit into this Proffie holder. This did come from Subversion, the Proffie board holder, as well as the battery tray, which both fit perfectly. So it was a breeze to wire up and get ready. So to put your battery in, okay, you've got a little spring here. Spring side is your negative, that faces towards the battery. You want the speaker rather. You want to take the flat part of your battery, which is the positive side, and you pop that in your battery tray.
I'll never turn to the dark side.
So keep in mind there is no kill switch with this setup. So your battery is essentially your kill switch. So whenever the battery is in, your lightsaber is on. I have programmed the Proffie board to go to sleep after a time of inactivity, but there will be some parasitic drain that goes on with the battery, even if there is that go to sleep function enabled. So after a while, I mean, I've had batteries last like 6 to 8 months when I'm not using them. So just keep that in mind. And you'll get an audible cue when your battery is low. And in my case, it has scared the crap out of me before, because I'll have a lightsaber on my shelf and it'll start yelling at me that there's a low battery. Anyway, so you put your battery in, slide that shroud back on, and you want to tighten your screws. Once your screws are tight, put your pommel back on and you're ready to go. Let's come back down to this main guy here. So once you've got your battery in, you are good to go. Lord, I mean, that speaker, that 28 millimeter from Saber Merchant is a screamer. So actually, let's turn it down a little bit. So I'll go over how to use the saber first, right? So there are two buttons here above this crystal chamber. The bottom button is your activation button. The top is your aux. If you want to edit the volume on the lightsaber, you want to hold down your aux button, long hold, and then release. When you hear that, you've entered the volume menu. So you want to go hit aux to go down, and as it goes lower, you'll hear that audible tone get lower. And if you want to go back up, you hit main. So once you find a volume that you're happy with, you hold down aux again, and now you're in your new volume. It's a little bit better. So to scroll through your fonts, if the hilt is facing up, you want to hit aux, and that goes through all your fonts.
And that theme is right. What is it? Just a simple one.
Now, if you want to go back in fonts, if you point the hilt down, now you'll scroll in the opposite direction. So when you're ready to go, let's put a blade in it. You make sure your brass thumb screw is loose so your blade can get past it. Make sure the blade is resting on those PCBs, and tighten up your thumb screw, and you're ready to go, okay? All of your aux buttons are ready, so every time you hit the aux button, you're going to get a blaster fire. If you clash while you're holding the aux button, you will get lockup. So I did set the configs up, the blade configs on this hilt up with color change wheel. To use that, when the blade is on, you want to hold down aux and tap main, and you'll get that audible cue. And as you twist the hilt, it will change color. When you find the color you want, you're going to hit the main button again, and it'll lock that color in. Okay? Here is the crystal. So when it's got a cool down effect when not in use, and then it times out. Let's see what else we've got on here.
I felt a great disturbance in the force.
So you can change the color to any color or the color wheel you want, and when you find what you want, you hit main again. Okay?
Lord Vader.
Such a great hilt. Such a great hilt. Speaker's great. Resonance is great. So that's a nice quick rundown. There's that crystal again, and it's gone. I just love the look of that external crystal. It's hard to see those little baby pico LEDs, but those also time out with the Neopixels. And that's it, everybody. And listen, I just want to say thank you to the client. Thank you for trusting me with this build. I love this hilt. It's a pleasure to work on. And to the viewers, thank you very much for the support. Thank you for watching. If anyone has any questions or comments, please don't be a stranger. Reach out to me, and I'll do what I can to help. So with that being said, may the force be with you always.